anyone can historically look at this time period and see that the US is in the wrong right now. Like, if you look at just the blatant facts, every single dictator across the world is befriending the US. Every dictator is praising the US. Every dictator is working in tandem with the US, one of which is particularly close to home because if you don't know, if you couldn't tell, I'm Salvadorian. And President Bukele, elected in 2019, has branded himself as the good dictator, right? I've joked about this on my channel before on the fact that he's the good dictator because it's hysterical that people qualify him as good when he has turned the military against his own people. We'll get to that in a second. But he's branded himself as the good dictator. And so when he offered to the US, you know, you could send me your prisoners. Why would the US take him up on that offer? Trump administration live update, hundreds of Venezuelans sent to El Salvador in face of judge's order. The Trump administration said that hundreds of people accused of being gang members had been sent to El Salvador a day after a federal judge ordered the president administration to seize such deportations. President Trump had signed an executive order invoking the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to deport Venezuelans with little to no due process. The judge had said any planes that had departed under Mr. Trump's order must turn around. Spoiler alert, they didn't turn around. Do you guys remember the video that I did about the deportation ASMR? And I was like, this is propaganda. This is normalizing and romanticizing a legal activity and making it like cool and edgy and like action movie-esque for like propaganda purposes, right? Okay, so watch this video that President Bukele posted of all of the Venezuelans coming off of the plane into El Salvador. It's a scarily long video. It keeps on going on and on. It's disgusting. It's dehumanizing. It's blatant propaganda. They added music. The filming is honestly really good filmography, which I'm disturbed by. It seems like what is this? Who's artistically lining up this shot? This is disgusting. President Bukele has made it a point to be very proud of his military system. His military system that uses the prisoners for free labor, that completely denies them any access to any outside family members, that completely denies them due process because since I think 2022 they've been in a state of emergency where you don't need a warrant to arrest anyone. And that has resulted in 2% of the entire population of El Salvador being incarcerated. In just the past 2 years, 2% of the entire population has gotten incarcerated. They've been stored at the facility that these people are being stored at, the Center for Confinement and Terrorism, right over here. This just opened in 2023. Bukele is extremely proud of it. They have been accused of numerous human rights violations. They don't let any news organizations go in and report it. They will actually arrest anyone that dissents Bukele on the streets for no reason, because remember, they can just lock people up with no warrant. On top of that, Bukele has sent the military, this very military that's being depicted right here, into the fucking chamber where his lawmakers were lawmaking and passing his budget. Why? So that he could funnel through this insane budget to fund all of these insane military deportation things. That was at the very beginning of his presidential term. He sicked the military on his lawmakers, sent them all in. It was an insanely authoritarian thing for him to do. And he gets away with it by claiming el mano duro, the iron fist, hard hand. If this sounds familiar, if it sounds like, I don't know, like a playbook, like, I don't know, maybe the authoritarians, maybe the dictators, maybe they all do the same thing when they get into power to consolidate power and keep power. History repeats itself. Lessons will be taught until they were learned. Yesterday, we received this invocation of the Alien Enemies Act regarding the invasion of the United States by Tren de Aragua. We all knew this was coming. We all knew that his rhetoric about the invasion, about the enemy within, was gearing up so that he could claim that he could use the Alien Enemies Act to put people in internment camps, and in this case, wrongfully deport them. Now, therefore, I, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, by authority vested in me, by the Constitution, including the Alien Enemies Act, I find and declare that the Trenes de Aragua is perpetuating, attempting, and threatening an invasion or predatory incursion against the territory of the United States. This is not true at all. I direct the Attorney General within 60 days of the date of this proclamation to prepare and publish a letter under her signature declaring the policy. I direct the Attorney General to transmit this letter to the Chief Justice, the Chief Judge, to every circuit of court appeals, the Chief Judge of every court... What? I direct that all alien enemies described in Section 1 of this proclamation are subjected to immediate apprehension, detention, and removal, and further, that they shall not be permitted residence in the United States. This is illegal. We are not being invaded by the Trenes de Aragua gang. Like, are there gang members here? Yeah. Are you being invaded in a mass military incursion by a sovereign nation? No. So obviously, lawsuits were filed. The ACLU filed this lawsuit, and there's a temporary restraining order that got put out on this deportation of the Venezuelans, which Donald Trump just blatantly ignored. So this is official constitutional crisis status, okay? So he deported them despite this temporary restraining order being completely granted by the judge. He still sent them out to El Salvador, and then they made this feature film about it. Even if there wasn't a lawsuit filed, okay, just the very fact that Donald Trump is invoking the Alien and Seditions Act, like, the last time this was used was in World War II by FDR to put Japanese people in internment camps. Why are we going back to this? Anyone with any knowledge of history would know that this was a huge embarrassment to the American record, and that we would never want to go back to this. We would never want to retreat back to this. Another huge caveat of the Alien and Seditions Act is that you're not allowed to defame the government in any way. They were using it to go after people that were against the Union after the War of 1812. Like, that's how far back this Alien Seditions Act was created in. They were going after people for being, like, loyal to the monarchy after the War of 1812. And Donald Trump is now using that to deport Venezuelans with no due process for no reason, to declare an invasion on this country, and inevitably he's going to use it now to suppress his dissenting voices by invoking the Alien and Seditions Act. Authoritarian playbook, step by step, bar for bar, word for word. Are we surprised? History repeats itself. I'm so tired of saying this, and I'm sure that everyone is so tired of hearing it, but everyone is underreacting. We are in the middle of a constitutional crisis. It's not okay. And we have a legislative that is just completely rolled over and just bent down to the God King. It's embarrassing. This is horrendous. This is impeachable. I mean, impeach him. Get this motherfucker out of office. Why? Why does he have 4 more years? Why?